Hey everybody, Portland Chess Shop here to bring you some more bullet action, and we're following International Master Allysza from Philippines, and he's a really strong player on the Internet Chess Club, one of the highest rated players online right now, and right now he's playing Chess Love '09 from the United States. So we will see what Allysza does to win at the bullet match. We see that he's down on time here, but he has the two knights, which is now attacking this bishop. He checks, and now he could be thinking about taking this bishop, which he does. Interesting decision. So now after pawn takes, he takes here. There's going to be a check. No, there isn't. He goes to the second rank, attacking the e2 pawn and the a2 pawn. So 7 pawns to 7 pawns. Black has a weaker pawn structure, but it looks like one of the white's pawns is going to fall. He moves his bishop again. He moves it 2 turns in a row. Now the pawn comes up, takes, and king up. Now white's down 2 pawns, but it's a rook ending, and rook endings can sometimes be pretty tricky. Here he goes up again, and now this pawn falls. Seems like really bad. He seems to be taking most of the pawns though. His rook is kind of on a rampage. He doesn't take. He's going to check and then swing back here because he decides now it's time. I have to worry about this. Now he has 2 passed pawns on this side. So the pawns are now even, which is pretty interesting. Now black has taken 1 pawn, but this pawn is on the loose. Takes here, takes. Now it's 2 pawns against 1 pawn. You see that grandmasters or international masters, strong players, play really well in bullet, even in a classical sense. Like, I mean, this is a rook ending that's being played impeccably. Well, maybe not impeccably. Hey everybody, Portland Chess Shop here to bring you another Chess Shoutcast, and we have... Hey everybody, Portland Chess Shop here to bring you the second bullet match for Allysza. He is playing 1 minute against International Master Fire Rock. Both players are very evenly matched according to the rating points. Fire Rock is from Argentina, and Allysza is from the Philippines again. So we see the players playing quickly, rapid development of the pieces. Here there's a capture. And he captures back with a pawn, which is pretty unusual there. Plays up, and there's an open g-file. This bishop is going to choose to fianchetto, maybe. These knights are on the back rank. I would expect this knight to come out at some point. This knight moves twice, attacking the bishop. It could take, but that'll sort of fix the pawn structure. Decides to retreat. This knight finds a good square, powerful square over here, and he plays the pawn up, attacking this pawn. It's defended. Now there's basically a fence, you see, on the dark squares. And this pawn moves up, bishop moves back. This knight retreats. That makes sense to try to trade off this powerful knight. He decides to leave the knight there and move his rook, giving away a pawn, but winning the h5 pawn, which does create significant pressure on the g6 square. It's attacked 3 times, you see, defended twice. But the queen has to retreat because the knight is able to defend it successfully to make room for the bishop to move when the rook comes over. So you see they're able to play a few moves ahead even though they're playing bullet chess. We see 27 seconds versus 19 seconds. I think that this game has been a pretty good game. Pretty high level, I believe. So the knight retreats, the queen moves over. Now he's going to invade on the queen side. Makes sense. Sees a weakness over here. So sort of the principle of 2 weaknesses. Make your opponent overprotect his king, and then invade on the other side. Pawn takes, rook gets behind it. So Allysza is going to sack this pawn. He knows that in rook endings, you do sometimes sacrifice pawns for activity, which is exactly what he's doing here. He's retreating this rook. He's going to bring it over here. The knight comes out. The rook attacks the knight, and there's a check, after which a take here and another take here because of a pin, you see. He couldn't take with the pawn because of here. So there's a check and a retreat. Bishop is here and another check, winning the pass pawn. Bishop here. And we see 8 seconds versus 3 seconds. Players basically pre-moving, but also playing pretty well. Here there's a discovered check, another check. Takes. Pawn up, check. He takes with the king. Now there's a pin, and he loses the bishop. But I think this is mostly about time. Allysza up 2 seconds, which should be enough to come ahead. Now they both have 1 rook. It's a drawn position, but I think that Allysza can pre-move a little bit faster. Good game. So Allysza playing again. This time he chooses to play the knight f3 and fianchetto the bishop for an early castling structure, and then break out with c4 and knight c3. His opponent, having played a queenside structure with both bishops fianchettoed, the knights have both come towards the center, and now there's takes, and the bishop is here. The queen moves up, and the bishop retreats. Pawn up, he's thinking about playing a b4 move possibly. Yes, he moves his rook over to prepare it, and now there's e6, overprotecting this square. Now he plays pawn up, gaining a lot of space, and the knight moves over. Decides to play e3, rook over. It looks like he could be going for a d4 play. This rook moves over because this will be a weakness after d4 is played. The bishops are traded off, and he plays e4, after which there's a break in the center with d5. The queen moves over. Rook moves. Knight retreats. Knight comes out, and this knight comes out. This knight has more possibilities because it's closer to the center, I think, is part of the idea. This knight would have only had 4 possible squares, whereas this one has 6 theoretical squares. So knight moves here. The bishop takes it, which is interesting. Now that seems pretty good. I would have considered queen f6 there. Maybe he's thinking about that when he moves back. He says, "Oh, I missed this square." Pawn up. Now the knight will have to move. Knight retreats back here. It looks like the knight could be good here. Attacking the queen and then taking here is the idea. He does play it, attacking the queen. We see that Allysza is way up on time. Almost more than 20 seconds. He's playing sauerkraut, by the way. I didn't even mention that. 24:05, pretty strong player. The knight comes forward, taking the pawn, and this knight comes forward, not taking a pawn, but it is a good knight in the center. But it's really about playing. Can you flag your opponent in this position? There's a check that wins the queen. Oh my gosh! So black has just won a queen for a knight, which is very good, and possibly he could come back, but he only has 3 seconds against 13. But there he takes it. Now it's mate in 1. Mate in 2. Damn. Here's another game, and they are rematching each other. Sauerkraut won about 20 points by beating him. So pawn up, pawn up. You see that Allysza, even though he's an international master, he is higher rated than Sauerkraut at the bullet. He's a very strong player. The knight comes forward. The bishop comes out. The queen is here. Now this pawn is pinned. Rook moves over. Bishop moves over. They're going to trade, and now there's an exchange, and then the bishop retreats. This pawn is still pinned because the queen will fall. The rook moves over, attacking down the c-file. The knight moves. The bishop retreats. The rook comes over onto the center file. Knight comes forward to the center. Queen takes. Knight moves to f3, attacking the queen. The queen will be forced to move. Decides to move the queen to this square. Now there's double on the d file. Queen moves over. Knight moves forward. This knight is attacked, so there is an exchange. They decide to exchange queens, go for an endgame. Allysza I think, has shown that he's pretty strong at rook endings. He's really able to sacrifice a pawn and use that to get a dynamic advantage, an advantage in initiative and in space, And with that, make a breakthrough and come back and win the game. That's what I've seen. So here the bishops could be exchanged. We'll see another rook ending. So the rook takes, rook retreats. King moves up. King's towards the center. This makes sense. The rooks double. So the black rooks are stronger in this position because this is an open file while this is a half open file. So pawn up. The king retreats. The rook moves over. This rook is now attacking this square, and he may take it, but here he's going to double up for the checkmate. Checkmate threat is here. So check. Here's another check if he wants it. King over. He could take it with the pawn check if he wanted, but he decides to take it with the rook. There's an exchange here, and white runs out of time.
Chess is like a sword fight. You must think first, right? Before you move.